Isn't it frustrating when school forces you to talk about the subject and you know nothing about it? Especially when it is a boring subject? Well, that's what I'm for. To tell you guys about something so boring yet important that you will have basic knowledge about the subject in just 5 minutes. What? Don't believe me? Try me. Today the subject will be about corporate governance. Here I will explain you about the following topics. Number 1. What is corporate governance? Number 2. Why is it relevant for a chartered accountant to know about corporate governance? Number 3. What is the difference between 1-tier and 2-tier boards? Number 4. What are the pros and cons of each structure? And number 5. What are so-called codes and why are these relevant for a company? All these questions will be answered right now. Okay guys, let me answer the question, what is corporate governance? Corporate governance represents a set of principles, systems, and processes by which a company is governed. It provides guidelines on how a company can be directed and controlled so as to reach its goals and objectives and add value and benefit to a company, all of which is in the interest of stakeholders. Now that you have a little indication about what corporate governance is, let me tell you why it is relevant for our chartered accountant to know about corporate governance. Accountants are highly effective as an instrument of corporate governance. Corporations can make important and intelligent decisions about how to cooperate, when to expand, and how much to invest in a project when management has accurate accounting data. For instance, accounting projections can show how cutbacks in employees and equipment can lead to short-term improvement in company profits, but eventually will deplete the firm of much-needed human resources for future projects. Number 3. What is the difference between 1-tier and 2-tier boards? Allow me to explain this, please. In the traditional 2-tier board structure, a separate board of supervisory directors supervises the board of managing directors and gives advice to the managing directors. In a 1-tier board structure, the executive directors and non-executive supervising directors are all members of one and the same board. They jointly form a single corporate body. The 1-tier board structure could therefore be an interesting option for international companies to limit the differences in governance between the Dutch company and the foreign parent company. Now that I have told you the difference between 1-tier and 2-tier boards, let me tell you the pros and cons of each structure. I think this is very important to know because this will affect the results of the company. Let's use the decision-making progress as an example for pros and cons. The decision-making progress is expected to be less time-consuming as decisions, which otherwise would require supervisory board approval, only have to pass one body. By having a 2-tier system as opposed to a regular board of directors, the chairman of the management board has the ability to make decisions more independently from the CEO, which increases the propagation of power within the business. This is a benefit for stakeholders and creates a more suitable picture of the management from a public point of view. And now, the last question of the day. What are so-called codes and why are these relevant for a company? Corporate governance code is set out standards of good practice in relation to issues such as board composition and development, remuneration, accountability and audit, and relations with shareholders. Listed companies are required to report on how they have applied the main principles of the code, and either to confirm that they have complied with the code's provisions or, where they have not, to provide an explanation. To clarify what I just told, I will mention some examples of certain codes. Number 1. Chairman and CEO roles should be split. Number 2. Chairman should be independent at the time of appointment. Number 3. Institutional investors need to have more dialogue with organizations they invest in. This was the end of my explanation. I hope that I have cleared the question marks on your head. Thank you so much for listening. Please like and subscribe the video.
Created using Powtoon.